Hi there, this is Justin Krane, Certified Financial Planner Professional and founder of Krane Financial Solutions. Welcome to Money You Got This. So how can you really live? How? By uniting your business money, your personal money with your life and your business. Word up.
Krane Financial is an SEC-registered investment advisor. However, such registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and no inference to the contrary should be made. A copy of our current written disclosure statement discussing our advisory services and fees is available upon request. Information contained herein is for informational and illustrative purposes only, and general in nature. It should not be considered specific financial planning or investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any type of securities or other investment products.
Hey everyone, welcome to Money You Got This. This show is brought to you by Krane Financial Solutions. I'm Justin Krane. I'm a certified financial planner professional, and I offer investment management services and act as a fractional CFO to business owners. It's time to merge your money with your life. I'm psyched you're listening to the show. I want to give you this free report, 3 things multimillionaires do to grow their wealth. Just go to coolmoneyshow.com to grab it. That's coolmoneyshow.com to grab it. Thanks. Today, I am super excited to have someone who I've recently connected with who's all about leads. His name is Tom Poland. He's from Down Under. Welcome, Tom. How are you?
G'day, Justin. I'm a box of fluffy ducks, thank you.
I love it. So who's Tom? Tom's a marketing mentor who first started his business at age 24. This is like 2 years ago. And he's gone on to start 4 others, taking 2 of them international. And that time he's managed teams of people, over like 100 people, with annual revenue north of 20 million. Now Tom is all things about leads. He's created the term leadsology, the science of being in demand, which is a blended learning program that gives professional advisors a model for generating a consistent, high quality flow of leads. I think you're in 193 different industries, 4 continents, working with over 2,000 business owners. I mean, I could go on and on. You've shared stages with Michael Gerber, Richard Koch, Brian Tracy, and I've recently connected with you just a few months ago, and I'm really excited to have you here. So let's get right into it. You ready?
Yeah.
So what exactly is a lead? And do a lot of us think that we have a lead when we really don't really have a qualified lead?
Yeah. Well, look, there is no set definition. So I get to say what I think it is, and that's my definition. It doesn't mean someone else is wrong. But when I speak to someone who's, maybe a Facebook agency or, I don't know, direct mail agency or whatever, and they talk about, well, you can get 1,000 leads for XYZ dollars. And I say, well, what's your definition of a lead? And what it ends up being normally is a name and an email address. And to me, that's not a lead. So my leads are someone has booked a time in my calendar to talk with me, and they've been through 7 filters or 7 qualifications before I get to speak with them. And that includes their ability to pay me what I'm going to charge. It includes an educational experience about exactly how I work with clients. It includes the elimination of rational, logical, clear elimination of people or opportunities they might consider to be direct competitors, when in fact are going to be a disaster for them. So there's 7 points of qualifications or filters. And so when I speak with them, they're ready to go. They're just coming along to that consult, hoping to confirm that working with me is the right idea. And I hope that doesn't sound arrogant, but I don't want to waste their time. So I want them to be high quality. So to me, that's a lead. They've reached out. In other words, the lead is inbound. I haven't left emails hoping they'll respond, or voicemail messages wondering, why they're not calling back, like after a first date or something. The leads have come in. They're extremely high quality. Yeah. When I speak with them about working together, it's not a matter of convincing them, because, selling is, you only have to sell when your marketing sucks.
Yeah.
So that's what a lead is.
You bring back, I have this thing. So when I first got into the business, we did tons of cold calling, and we have these like index cards of like a person's name and their phone number, and we'd like write notes on them. And there's this guy that sat next to me. He's like, I have all these leads. They're great. And on like every single card that he had was nice guy, call back. We started joking with him all the time. He had all these leads with genuine, we called them genuine US bull essers. And he had all these leads, but he really had none. So I
Right.
think what you're talking about is your way of pre-qualifying them so that the conversion of them is either better and they're just more qualified by the time they get to you.
Well, not only is the conversion easier, but as clients, they stay around longer. Because if you've effectively passed 7 filters, 7 qualifying criteria, means you're pretty serious. So, you know, we've all heard that saying: a person convinced against the will is a person who remains unconvinced.
Yeah.
So if we start involving in schmarmy sales techniques and manipulative closes and, well, what's your plan B? And if you don't buy now, there's going to be a price increase and all that bullshit. If we start doing that, they might pay a month, they might pay 2 months, but they won't pay 3.
Yeah.
And that's when you get the dear John email saying, hey, you know, Justin, it's not you, it's me. I just need to pause for a while.
With the subject line, I'm sorry. Oh my God.
But I will be back to you in just a couple of months as soon as, and so on. But that person was never seriously committed. So that's, to me, what a lead is. And if I can add to that, just want to highlight or underline, it's inbound. So we don't go out chasing people. And the analogy I like to give for this is there's the 100 sleeping bears. So let's say there's a forest. You know, what's the difference between selling and outbound versus marketing and inbound? There's a forest with 100 sleeping grizzly bears, let's call them, because they're kind of big and mean. And they're all asleep. And we know somehow, magically, we know that 3 of them are hungry for our honey. So the bears are obviously a metaphor for potential clients. Our honey is a metaphor for what we've got, our services or advice. And so we've got a couple of options here. We want the 3 hungry bears to eat our honey. We can go running through that forest with a big, sharp, pointy stick and jab every bear in the ass, wake it up. And if the bear's, you know, one of the hungry ones, it'll eat our honey and not us. But we're just going to basically piss off 97 bears, right? And that's like cold calling. It's like selling people who aren't hungry. So with leadsology, what we do is we just put the honey pot outside the forest. And the hungry bears wake up because they smell the honey, and they come out of the forest, and we know we've got a lead because that bear has made an inquiry. So it could be a book, you know, you mentioned science, the science of being demand. There's another one on the leadsology series, Marketing Invisible. It could be a webinar. It's something, it's a sampler taste. It's our brand on display. I call them a demonstration, particularly online meetings, the demonstrations, and they are, without question, the #1 way to generate high quality, you know, well-qualified new client inquiries.
I love that. The science of demonstration, right? If you can demonstrate what you know or how you could help someone, the odds of them reaching out to you and doing business with you is way bigger, right?
Yeah, because you've, you know, if you've got a steak that you want, if I got a steak I want my dog to eat, well, there's no convincing. Right. But he might, if he's a suspicious dog, I might give him a little piece to start with, but there's no selling required because I've matched what the market's looking for with an offer. So the reason I do demonstrations with our online meetings, commonly called webinars, is that if you position it as a free sales training, then, and it's actually a sales pitch at the end of it, then you've really done a bit of a bait and switch.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I've never done that, but when I sort of thought about it a bit deeper, I thought, hang on, if I'm professing to be authentic, like the real deal in my value delivery and when I work with clients, I need to do that in my marketing as well. So if it's really just me wanting to get people along so they can see how I work with clients, and if they like it, you know, make an inquiry, I'm just going to call it a demonstration. It's not a free training webinar anymore. It's a demonstration of how independent professionals in 27 cities and 15 cities, and 15 time zones around the world are, big headline, generating a weekly flow of inbound new client inquiries. So if you want to see how I work with my clients, come along to the webinar. So we've got this very direct, honest, transparent value proposition. Will I get less people to the webinar? I thought I would, but apparently not. They still turn up because they have an interest in the core value proposition, which is lead gen.
Yeah. So God, I have like 72 questions off of what you just talked about. One of the ones I actually wanted to ask you about is, because I think as business owners, we are constantly evolving in terms of how we're packaging things, who we work with, what our offerings are, what our pricing is. I'm curious, when you coined the term leadsology. Was it at the start of your career? Did you do it a few years ago? How did you get to that term?
Look, I came to that in early 2016 or late 2015, something like that. So a few years ago, because when I looked at lead generation, because my pursuit for 11 years was how to generate these high quality inbound leads. Those two words are very important. High quality, okay, that's 2 words, and inbound, because I figured that was the holy grail. If I wanted to do that without cost, and I needed to be able to do it without complication because I wanted to teach it.
Mm-hmm.
So in the pursuit of that holy grail, I actually came up with a system, works incredibly well, new fresh leads, highly qualified, inbound every week. But it was there's so much to it that I figured it was more like a science than anything else. And so we have psychology, which is the science of the study of the mind. We have biology, the scientific study of living species. So what the hell, leadsology. I wanted to send people a signal that this was a science. It was well thought out. It could be presented in a step-by-step manner. We could prove it works, but there was a fair bit to it. So when I explained to people how I generate inbound leads, and I had this classic an interview yesterday where the host said, "Oh, that's pretty simple." I said, "Actually, it's not." So
That's
just coming up with the title for, say, a webinar, there's 6 steps to that, including a marketplace test. That's just one small part of the whole process. 6 steps. So getting this thing right is kind of like splitting the atom. You can't get it half right. It doesn't work. You'll blow up, yourself. So it's, the way I describe it is like this. If you watched me in front of a combination safe, and let's say there was a lot of, jewels and gold and everything in the combination safe, and you saw me opening the safe, it would just be click, 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 and I'd open. And you could mistakenly think, gee, that's pretty easy. But you get one number wrong, and the safe's not going to open.
Yeah.
And that's why I called it leadsology, because it's the science of generating demand.
I got to believe it's a system, right? It's a system of steps on how to actually open the safe.
It's a series of systems that when you put it together, it becomes a process. So there's three main systems. There's how do I get a fresh audience for my webinars every week or every month? A fresh audience, which is completely free when I'm fishing from a pond, which is inexhaustible supply and the high quality. That's the first system. How do I get a fresh audience? Free, high quality, inexhaustible. Second system is how do I present to that audience in such a way that I demonstrate my capability, which is the most important thing in any presentation, is to prove to the audience that you're bloody good at what you do and you can deliver on the value that you're talking about. So how do I present so that I've got a demonstration of my capability so that people gain value from the presentation, so the right people are motivated to want to reach out and talk with me, so that I have eliminated other options that they considered to be direct, other options, rationally and logically and ethically. And how do I qualify them to make sure I'm only speaking to people that are very likely we're going to be good working together. So there's a whole lot to a presentation. It's not just a matter of putting some slides together. And I didn't even talk about how my model works until the 35-minute mark.
Yeah.
Everything else we've done up to that is unconscious.
Yeah. Yeah. I think what's going on with a lot of people when they're listening to you right at this point, they're like, okay, he's got this process. It's leadsology. It's inbound. I get it. There's a science to it. What they're beginning to think, because I think about this a lot with marketing, is, can I actually do this? Can I pull this off myself? Am I going to be in over my head with this?
Yeah, good question.
I mean, I know webinars, I've done them and all that, but there's a lot of people who are like, webinars, I've never even done one. I'm an architect. Yeah. I'm just dealing with one person. Like, so
it's a great question.
Can you talk about the conversation that people are having, which is, am I actually going to be able to implement what you're teaching me, whether it's just me or bringing in someone to help me with it?
Yeah. Okay. So how would you feel about building a car? I'll give you the instruction manual, the engines and bits, there's a frame somewhere, there's a chassis, there's buckets of buttons. Not too good, right?
No.
But what if I gave you one bolt and said, screw a nut on that?
Yeah, of course.
You'd be comfortable with that.
Yes.
So it's all about segmenting the tasks. So we have, for example, there are 35 steps in the audience system. Each one's a bolt with a nut you screw on, the equivalent of it. So because, and we to teach this stuff, it's a whole lot different to doing it, because you've got to get everything that you do after 11 years that you do instantly, by instinct, automatically. You've got to break that down into a series of steps that's very easy to follow. So I hired 2 instructional designers, paid them tens of thousands of dollars over 15 months to take all my IP and put it into a program, a series of 3 systems: the audience system, the asset system, which is the webinar presentation, and the call to action system. And to break it down, instructional designer, by the way, is someone who is a specialist at creating online programs. And I said to them, this is not a training program. You might be used to working to corporate, you want to give people health and safety training or whatever, that's fine. This is an implementation program. Every single one of those little small steps is something that my client implements. Now, that's kind of like an IKEA manual, right? It can still be a bit of a headache for people, but what if you had the IKEA manual and you had Mr. IKEA alongside you, helping you, showing you where the bolts went and the screws went as you erected. So that's what we do. So we understand that someone who just buys a home study course, even though it's created by instructional designers who are professionals in this, even though it's laid out, they're probably going to get distracted. So we create a framework of accountability. It's an implementation framework. We run multiple support sessions every single week. So people go in, do one little bolt and a nut on it, and let me have a look at it. Make sure it's screwed on right. If it's not, I'll help you screw it on right, and we'll go to the next step. So we run multiple support sessions.
People can get overwhelmed, especially if they're not prone to marketing, or they've done it and it hasn't worked. Where they're going to just quit and be like, you know what, I'm just going to hope that the phone's going to ring, or I'm going to get an email or whatever. Can you talk a little bit about, because I don't think, obviously I'm in money, and I think marketing for me is an investment. It's not an expense. And I see a lot of my clients invest in marketing, but they do it for a very short period of time, like a month. They try something, it doesn't work. So I think marketing needs to be more of a longer term thing, where it just is going to take time. And I think a lot of people give up too soon.
Why do they give up though?
Because I think we're in this age of like immediate results. Like we want a result like now, and they might not have a system to take, people through A to Z on what has to happen to get them to convert and buy. But I just think they're being short-sighted. And then it could be a whole other thing, like bad messaging, bad copy, wrong offer, bad price, whatever it is. But I just think it's a longer term thing. And I think a lot of people are looking for a short-term result. And they don't really have a plan.
So there's, imagine the Grand Canyon. On one side, there's you, not specifically, but the listener perhaps, and that side of the Grand Canyon represents random acts of marketing that consume a lot of time, and the results are unpredictable. Let's go to a networking meeting, go to a conference, hope I get lucky, right? And the other side of the Grand Canyon is predictable, scalable, high quality lead gen. Okay, so to get from one side of the Grand Canyon to the other, there is no shortcut. You can't get scalable, predictable, high quality, week in, week out, like turning on a tap with water, leads coming in, unless you're prepared to build the bridge. You can try jumping. Good luck. So the bridge are the systems. But Justin, can I share with you 2 reasons, in my view, the two main reasons why people fail with their marketing efforts?
Yes, I was actually going to ask you, as one of my questions, what's the one reason why people stink and fail at marketing?
Okay, so the biggest reason is about dogs and cats. So dogs wake up in the morning, they want to bark, they don't want to meow. Cats wake up in the morning, they want to meow, they want to bark. So this is a metaphor for there are certain things in life you are inclined to want to do by reason of how your DNA is put together and the way the brain works. There are certain things in life that you feel you should do, but you don't want to do them. Now, every single day, and some people deny this until they think about it deeply, every single day we wake up and we do things that we want to do. every single day. I defy anyone to examine their life closely and reveal to me a day where they did everything that they didn't really want to do. All right? Only on some days do we wake up and do things we feel we should do. So you contrast that. Every day we wake up and do things we want to do. I'm not saying 24 hours, but I'm saying we do a bunch of things we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Only on some days we wake up and do things we sure we should do. So if I just been to I don't know, I wake up in the morning, and yesterday I went to a seminar on Facebook ads and split testing and autoresponders and segments, and I've done Facebook ads and generated a lot of money from them. So, but I don't do them anymore because they become too expensive. They're complicated and as well, and I don't mind complicated so long as the freaking thing works, right? And it's not going to cost me an arm and a leg. But they got too expensive. So I wake up in the morning. Let's just say it's, you know, John Doe's woken up in the morning, been to a seminar the day before, and his head's spinning because it's really complicated to do these things well. It really is. Pay per clicks and cost per clicks and split testing and kill off the loser, replace the landing page with another challenger, and track everything through your CRM. And it's complicated. But I wake up and I go, yeah, Facebook ads, funnels. Boy, that was a great seminar. Amazing results. You know, I should really do that. So one of three things is going to happen. Either you'll never start it and you just feel guilty for a few years. And I should have really started. I should have. Or you'll start it and you'll stop it because you never wanted to do it in the first place. Or third, and possibly you'll do it, unlikely, inconsistently. So the best case scenario here is an inconsistent application to a subject matter that requires deep and persistent application. It won't work.
That's the whole, it's the inconsistency. I feel, when you say that word, I feel it because I've done that.
So you know before how I talked about segmentation and how that's the key to implementation, because you don't give people 7 things. You give them 6 steps to create a title for the PowerPoint. So lots of little steps. They get a sense of progress. They get a sense of achievement. They stay more motivated, right? And this is something I learned from the instructional designers. So if you took the very first, let's say you wanted to get the world record for dominoes, set them all up. That's what our program sets all the dominoes up. But you didn't really want to knock over the first one. You just had this thing where I didn't really want to do that. So you hire someone else to knock over the first one. All the other dominoes go click, 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 click. So we have our whole audience system, of which there are, 37 steps. The first step is done by a contractor in the Philippines for $6 an hour, which, by the way, is more than a living wage over there. And she gets a healthy monthly bonus for the results. Very motivated. Michelle wakes up in the morning and wants to knock over that first domino.
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning. I just want to wake up, look at my diary and see more consults having booked, high quality consults. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing what I want to do. And so I do it. And she's doing what she wants to do. Now, if Michelle woke up in the morning and saw consults booked, she would just wet her pants, because she would be freaking out. She doesn't want to do that.
Yeah. So
she'd get sick, or she'd get a better offer, or she'd postpone. So let the cats meow, let the dogs bark. 97%, by my estimation, after 39 years of sales and marketing and teaching sales and marketing as well since 1995, 97% of marketing efforts fail for the one simple and most overlooked reason is that people don't want to do it.
I wonder why.
Because our brains are inclined.
Marketing.
Look, everyone, it's not marketing broadly they don't want to do it.
Maybe
it's certain styles of marketing they don't want to do. It might be too complicated and hurts their brain. I mean, you're a numbers guy. Mm-hmm. I'm a words guy. You and I have looked at my P&Ls. My eyes just glazed over. And you're drilling my accountant for why is this, the item on the balance sheet, why is that saying that? And my accountant's going, oh, well, it may not be quite right. I mean, you looked at my shopping cart. You said, what's that 30 grand for? I didn't even know there was 30 grand missing. So
I think what you're talking about is what Dan Sullivan talks about from the Strategic Coach is called unique ability, like operate in what you can do all day long in your PJs and not even have to think and just do and what you're prone to do and want to do.
That's a very good way of putting it. I call it inclinations. If you're walking on the side of a hill around the hill? Are you inclined to want to go down or up? You're inclined to want to go down.
Yeah.
So that is a clue to your destiny.
Mm-hmm.
You're wired to make the world a better place a certain way. Celebrate diversity. Justin does the numbers, I do the words, good team.
Yeah.
But if I'm trying to do the numbers, it's going to be ugly. It's like a dog trying to meow.
Yeah. But there's one thing that we haven't talked about that I'm curious what your advice would be to business owners who are marketing. So they're hearing that they need to demonstrate what they do, that they need to be the honey and not the stick, so to speak, or the flower where the bee flies. And they're hearing that they need to operate in their zone of where their strengths are and work with people who also use their strengths, and knowing that they need a system. My question for you is should we be marketing to everyone, or should we be marketing to a niche, or should we even niche again? What's your view of who we're choosing to do business with?
Right.
Should we niche or go general?
Yeah. So you need to niche enough so that whatever you're offering is effective for any client who signs up. So I don't work with, I don't know, a provider of fine meats. I don't work with people selling houses. I don't help people with their marketing if they've got a physical multi-level marketing product, because marketing the invisible, services, advice, or software, won't work well for those with physical products. I mean, if I've got a great set of golf clubs and I've got 30% off for a week only, that'll sell off a billboard. Try selling business coaching, financial planning, consulting, corporate training off a billboard. It's not going to work, because when you buy a set of golf clubs, you don't have to trust the seller. You don't have to like the seller. You have to trust the golf clubs. So when we're marketing the visible, it's far more like we're proposing marriage than it is selling a set of golf clubs. So in answer to the question of the niche, you've got a niche far enough so that when you work with a client, it's incredibly effective, but don't niche anymore. So I wouldn't niche to, I don't know, one-legged little people teaching swimming courses in Orange County. It's too small. Could I help them get more clients? Probably, but it's not going to satisfy my sales objectives. Most people, of course, don't niche at all because they think there's a lack of potential clients. There's not unless you're selling, I don't know, jumbo jets to governments, then it's a more limited market. But for most of us, there's a massive market out there. So it's a matter of niching enough so that when you deliver the value, clients get extraordinary results. So I don't take architects on as clients anymore. I wouldn't take a massage therapist on. My niche are the professionals marketing service, advice, or software who have the transaction is in the thousands, not the hundreds.
So how did you get to that? Like, did you know right away that you're going to niche with people that are giving advice, or did you have to fail at these other 17 different modalities and be like, you know what, it's not working for me?
Well, I tell you how I came across, how I arrived at it. It was a process over many years, because I used to take on, if you had a small business, referenced 197 different industries I've worked with, so everything from people selling cars to manufacturing of yogurt exports and so on. But what I noticed is that when I would go to a client meeting, there were some that my energy picked up. I was going to have a client meeting. I was thinking, oh, great, I'm going to be working with XYZ. And I was really enthusiastic about it. And there are others that I went to that I felt like this was going to be hard work. Felt like I was a dog trying to meow. And what I noticed is that the people that I really look forward to working with were marketing the invisible. They didn't have a physical product.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing I noticed is that the greatest demand was for lead generation. So given that I work best with people who are marketing invisible because that's what I'm doing, I'm doing it day in, day out. I eat it, sleep it, breathe it. I love it. Very easy to teach someone who was doing the same thing, whether they were a financial planner or a business coach. They are essentially marketing invisible. So that's how I came up with the niche. In terms of the service, it was simply in survey after survey after survey, I saw the biggest need that small business owners stated was not to do with financing. It wasn't to do with hiring the right people or those who were high on the list. It was always to do with lead gen.
I just thought of something that I do every now and then with clients. And for some reason, I just gravitate to like Google Sheets. I love them because they're, you can put them online and everyone can see them.
Sick
And
puppy.
we track things like sales, cash, and profits and all that.
Right.
One of the things that I love is like a dashboard where you can track the primary drivers of all of those things. And one of them is actually leads, like, amount of leads, I've got one client where we track scheduled get acquainted sessions. We track the results of those get acquainted sessions. And
Definitely.
then we can just go onto this Google sheet. And once we track all of these things, and one of them is actually leads, it's pretty, I don't want to say pretty easy, but it's much easier to back into what we think the sales will be in 3 months or 6 months.
Yeah,
because we're tracking something that's, that's a step one of a sale.
Yeah. So
I know that you're high level and you're creative, but does anyone on your team encourage your clients to do that? How do you work with that?
Religiously.
Really?
Religiously. Absolutely. Because, and I'm not the guy to track it because I'm a dog, as you said, big picture. I like creating, full stop. I like working with people, full stop. I like words, full stop. So I'll write books till I'm like a pig in mud if I'm writing a book. I just love it. But you're the numbers guy, so hence Google Sheets, my eyes glaze over. I want it in a graphical dial. I want to see red light, green light. It's like, I got it. Don't let me scroll through the numbers. So cats and dogs. So we track it, but I don't track it. I have my ops manager tracks the leads, and she produces the reports and puts green, red, and orange on things. I just look at them. But the reason it's so critically and fundamentally important is that the old saying that nothing happens in a business until something is sold.
I like that.
Well, it's true. It's an oldie but a goodie. Nothing happens in a business until something is sold. You can't pay your suppliers. You can't pay yourself. You can't put money into R&D. You can't test new advertising or whatever. Bad idea anyway, but you can't do any of that. Nothing happens in a business until something is sold, but nothing is sold until a lead is generated.
Sure.
So leads are the pointiest end of the business. You've got to measure new client inquiries. If you ain't getting enough, you need to figure out how to get more. If you're getting them but not converting them, you need to figure out how to get more that are better qualified.
Sure. Yeah. One thing that I look at with some clients is lifetime value of a client, which means how long is, how much is a client actually worth? And then the cost to acquire a client. And then you look at, all right, if it's going to cost me $3,000 to acquire a client, but a client's worth $15,000, well, of course I want to do that. But what comes into play sometimes is you have to outlay the cash, that $3,000, and then that 15, the value doesn't really come in till, let's say, the third year where you're actually in the black, or the second year or anything like that. So how do you work with your clients with respect to leads, and where they're somehow paying for them, buying them, whether it's through time, hiring people, or ads, or what?
Yeah, I understand lifetime value. So that whole equation changes dramatically if you're not paying for advertising. If you're not paying for pay-per-click or Facebook advertising, if you're not hiring venues and doing direct mail postals to get the venue full, if you're not doing radio ads, which don't really work that well anyway, but if you're not doing all that thing, then your cost of acquisition might go from, I don't know, $300 a client down to $20 a client.
Sure.
So your break even is like at the end of the first month, you're ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
And that's why my holy grail, I mentioned it at the start, is pretty quick. I don't know if people noticed, but I want the leads to be free of any advertising costs, certainly. Now I have backroom folk, the cats that set up the landing page, that do the reports and so on. But most of them are in the Philippines or India. And that's, I mentioned before, $6 an hour is more than a living wage over there. And the monthly bonuses I pay are pretty generous, but I'm paying them out of the money they've already generated.
Got it.
So the cost of acquisition it's self-liquidating. It's easily self-liquidating. It's the first month my client pays, I'm ahead.
That's great.
Because the
So,
leads are, I'm not paying for the leads and direct advertising cost.
so everyone's listened. They're very interested and curious, and they don't really know where to go next. Like, what should they do? Should they watch a webinar of yours? Should they read one of your books? Should they, go to your website? What's the next step for someone who's interested in your system
Yeah.
and actually wants to implement it?
So what they want to do is they want to go to my consult booking page, which is bookachatwithtom.com.
Cool.
And because this interview has effectively replaced the webinar that I would normally ask people to go through. So they go to that page, they read the page, and there's 4 agreements. They have to check the boxes to say they can afford my monthly minimum fees, that they're ready to start in the next few weeks if we agree it's a good idea, and so on. And then they'd find a time for us to talk. It's not a sales conversation. It's just a conversation between 2 adults. And I always say to people, if you want to think about it, you think about it. I don't mind. You want to talk to your wife, your husband? Do that. That's all good. I don't mind. I got pipeline full. So if you feel comfortable about taking the weekend to think it over, I'm fine with that. We can circle back next week if you want to go ahead. So it's just
bookachatwithtom.com.
That's it.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. And I think you're onto something. I think you are. And it's great to have you on.
It's been a pleasure. It's been very interesting. Thanks for all the insightful questions, Justin.
I love it. All right, talk to you soon. Have a question? Want to get in touch with us? Need some help and advice with your finances? Just go to coolmoneyshow.com and reach out to us. That's coolmoneyshow.com.
Krane Financial Solutions is an SEC-registered investment advisor. However, such registration does not imply a certain level of skill or training, and no inference to the contrary should be made. A copy of our current written disclosure statement discussing our advisory services and fees is available upon request. Information contained herein is for informational and illustrative purposes only and general in nature. It should not be considered specific financial planning or investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell any type of securities or other investment products. No investment decision should be made based solely on any information provided herein. We do not provide legal, accounting, or tax services. We recommend that all investors seek out the services of competent professionals in any of the aforementioned areas. Certain information provided has been obtained from third-party sources that we believe reliable. However, it's not been independently verified and is not guaranteed.